and I think I appreciate that about her. Like, she's one of those women say, I ain't doing this, this, and this, and this. But then when presented with it, she will actually think through it and, make the best decision for herself and for them as a couple. And I appreciate that about her, especially her being a woman of color, because sometimes we're painted as being inflexible. Okay. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I love that.
You're
absolutely right on that.
Very interesting. I hadn't even thought about that because, and the truth is, let's be honest, and I'll be the first one to say it, when I have been in love, or what I thought was good love, I am very flexible for that other person's needs because I do want them to feel comfortable in my life. And, I mean, to be honest, sometimes we make those decisions almost to the detriment of ourselves in the relationship, where we give too much, but there's this sense that this character would not be willing to do so. And I also made allowances for the fact that she has not been in a relationship for quite some time. I can't remember how long she said it had been, but it had been 4 years since she had so much as even done the dirty, much less been in a relationship, because the two can truly be mutually exclusive. But I thought that, for her, and he never mentions it, if I recall correctly, but he was in a relationship more recently than she was. And his relationship was so serious that he moved to another country. And for her, I thought it was very interesting that we never heard him somewhat make the allowances for the fact that she has not been in a relationship. She has not been asked to make that deep sacrifice. And sometimes that deep sacrifice can be a learning curve. And it's never actually mentioned, but it kind of is part of the emotional negotiations, physical and emotional negotiations of a relationship. And that can be very difficult for somebody who has not been in a relationship where they've had to rely on themselves a great deal. So in a lot of ways, this book brought up a lot of those issues about how much are you willing to give up? When are you willing to give that up because you're suddenly in a relationship that that's new to you? And two, the whole idea of the learning curve of being back in a relationship, because not only is every relationship different and has to be learned, but I'll be the first one to tell you, you stay out of a relationship long enough and everything seems and feels and processes like an imposition.
I can see that. Lisa, what questions did you have about the book?
Like, when, piggybacking on that, Michelle, when little Bunny, anytime he wanted her to do something outside of her comfort zone, he would always say, "Hot, little Bunny." And I love the fact that he made her get out of her comfort zone and do things that she normally wouldn't. And I think that was part of her, what you were saying, being in that single zone and not everything was an imposition to her. She didn't want to do anything at all. What do you guys think about the way he got her to leave her comfort behind?
Yeah. I think it reinforces also, Lisa, that whole imagery of her being in that hole, the hole that he found her in. Like, not only did he find her in a physical hole, he found her in an emotional hole as well. One, by her ties to how things have to be for a woman like her. A woman her size, her height, her this, her that, all these constraints, all these holes that she's pushed herself into. And I love that Sutton, he realizes that about himself, that he realizes that about her. And he, in some ways, he almost makes it his responsibility to bring her out, let's hop out of some of those holes and fill them up with dirt so we can't turn around and go back to that. So I love that. I love that about her. And I love that she, even in her internal dialogue and in her dialogue, because she's pretty snarky, I love that she tells him straight up, I don't want to do it. I don't want to try it. I don't want to do this. She's very honest about that, because oftentimes that's not something women do when it comes to men, especially if they haven't been in a relationship in a while and they wanted to work. Like you pretending you like all kind of stuff. I like hiking. I like avocado toast. I like runny eggs. I don't like none of that. I don't like it.
I do not lie, because you lie and end up meeting a mother-in-law that hates you. So, yeah, I don't lie in relationships. I'm not going to lie to like you. You're going to have to like some of my stuff. I'm going to tell you I'm going to try it, but I try everything one time. And if I don't like it, like I always have my running rule is if you hear that I suddenly like camping, he's fine. He got a ton of money, and I whisper in his ear while he sleeps, I don't like this. I'm doing this for you.
Yes.
That's
so
funny.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
Love that. Yeah.
So
when they went to that
made
music
the most
festival,
sacrifices for this relationship. I'm curious about that very much. Like, what do you guys think? Who do you think made the most sacrifices?
I don't think she was actually sacrificing a lot. I think he was just pulling her out of her constraints and letting her be free. And again, that's the romantic part of me. I think she was holding herself back, and he was letting her be free and seeing who she wanted to be. Yeah, she took some days off, but that was for her own betterment. It wasn't for something that was for him, for his benefit. It was for both of the relationship benefit. So I didn't see a whole. I saw the compromise in the relationship. I didn't see one person was sacrificing and the other one was benefiting from it.
I agree with you. Now, I did see, and this is just me, I saw a turning point in their relationship. I thought they were cruising along pretty well to be truly from two different worlds until the question comes up about Sutton, this whole commitment versus free living. And he says, when it comes to this job interview, well, I don't even know if I'm going to be around for the next 6 months. And I'm going to tell you something. Now, I was feeling Sutton. I'm not going to lie. When he said that, I was ready to leave him on his bunny trail by himself with no ride and probably with still his clothes and shoes. But
okay, that's funny because at one point I was like, he has a car? I was shocked he had a car because that seemed like too much of a commitment for him. I was like, wait, he has a car? I was stuck. You can afford one?
Oh, y'all wrong for that. I got to speak up for something on that now. Y'all been looking down at him because he stopped at the grocery store. He stocks fruit. Yeah, he's a free spirit, but sometimes it's a regular man's job. You can't just look down your nose at a regular guy. Sometimes they work the battle.
But a regular man's job who tells me I took this job because I can leave when I feel like and not go when I don't want to. That's different than a regular job.
That's part of living free. He traveled the world. He's got a story for everything in the world.
Doesn't he?
He's a very interesting man.
And that's my worry. My worry would be that I was one of the collective stories he would one day tell. And I think that was where, for me in the story, I'm like, so is this a real relationship or is this I'm going to do this for a couple of months? This looks like fun. I can't wait to tell my friends this story type of relationship. That's what I struggled with on more than one occasion in the book.
So my thing was if you paid attention to what he was saying the entire time, everywhere he floated, he was not in a relationship. When he was in a relationship, he moved from one country to another to be with that woman. He committed to her. Even though he didn't think he could commit, he was a commitment type of guy. She was the one that dumped him and broke his heart. He didn't do that to her.
That is true.
He had it in him to be the commitment type of guy in a relationship. It's when he's not in a relationship where he floats around. I'm sorry?
Job like a nomadic job as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I must say,
so she could go anywhere.
Sutton does not have a problem sharing the women he's been in relationships with. And that came out. So
we did find out.
Yes, more than once. And so I can understand where Little Bunny, when he says,
I don't know about the relationship part. He had lots of shared women, but I don't know if it was the women in relationships with him. I think he was sleeping with several women and sharing them. He didn't care about that. But when we meet the girl Petal at the festival, and the friend was flirting, he even said something there that his friend should not ever find out. So I was like, And he was very possessive of Little Bunny as well.
Okay,
so
all right. So I'm gonna back
up. If
up.
he was committed to those women, if he would share them.
Okay,
that's what I got.
So I'm gonna back up a little bit because I want to go back to this whole. I don't know if I'm gonna be here in 6 months. And initially, the hero not appreciating the hurt that caused for the heroine. So I want to unwrap that, but I also want to unwrap the conversation that Yasmine has with Langston, who's her employee. He's married. He's in a same-sex relationship, and he's married. And their conversation about true love and the impact of true love on your life and that sacrifice. So let's unpack that. So what did you think about Sutton he's so in touch with Yasmine, but not realizing when he just kind of off the cuff says, well, I don't know if I want this job because I may not be around in 6 months. What do you think about that, Lisa, my hopeless romantic?
I was hurt just as much as she was. I was like, what? My mouth fell off, and I'm like, what do you mean? And when he didn't recognize that he hurt her right away, I was like, oh, my God, this guy really does think on a different level. But then he came up and he made up for it the next day. But the fact that he could lay down and go to sleep with her being hurt, sitting there, I'm like, dude, you're taking your life in your hands. At this point, she might bash you in your head while you sleep. But then he meditated and thought about it, and he realized, hey, I hurt her. Let me go and make up for it. So,
Michelle?
Yeah, he did that twice in the book for me. Oof.
What's the other time?
The other time was at the festival with that daggone pedal. I almost said the wrong word. That pedal, I wanted to tear his head off with that. Yeah.
I honestly thought when that happened, not the pedal part. Pedal is a whole separate issue, which we're going to have to unpack that. That's a 5-minute discussion, just pedal alone, which is the woman that he was with before Yasmine, the woman that kind of broke him and made him think that, commitment hurts. And that was the pain he was trying to avoid by just having this nomad-like lifestyle. He committed to this woman who hurt him. Yes, that's true. But he found the woman that he thought the universe, since he feels like, he's very this kind of, fate drives my life, this woman that fate led him to, and then she turned out not to be the forever woman he thought. But it almost pulled me out of the book. I'll be honest with you, because it seems so out of character for a man who's so in touch with the woman that he's with and with himself, that it almost pulled me out when he did that. Because I'm like, how could he possibly miss him saying something like that, how it would impact her? It really did. I was like, whoa, like this is not Sutton. Like this, this is so not him. So what did you think about the conversation with Langston when Langston said, he said to Yasmine when she says, I'm not giving up my business, my life here, traipse all over the country with this man. And he says, true love makes everything in your life burn brighter, and consider what your life would be like without that, if it is Sutton. And then you should know, it's not where your love lives, but who your love lives with. That's important. So what do you think about this conversation she has with this married man, her coworker, Michelle?
I get where he was coming from, and I get what he was trying to say, but we're dealing with a man who is